Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Sport YouTube channel for the Pole Position podcast with Jamie Davies and Jack Price. And as it's the day after from the French Grand Prix, of course, we're going to review the 8th race of the season. And it was won by Lewis Hamilton, his 3rd race win of the season. And of course, since it's the first time since we've had the French Grand Prix, since the early noughties, it has, of course, been the first win for a British guy there, and it's quite good to see, really. You know, despite the dominance of French drivers that we have, they still can't get near the podium, can they? Maybe Grosjean could a few years ago in that Lotus Renault car, but how the history has changed for him. But, of course, Lewis Hamilton is now 14 points clear again, I think. Also, I can't remember.
You could be right.
So it could be. I just shows how much I watched the race and kept an eye on it. But as I've said, he won, and now he's top of the championship again. It's a roller coaster between him and his rival Sebastian Vettel of Ferrari. And Jack, it's a good win for Lewis Hamilton, which for England itself on Sunday. They won the football, they won the cricket, and they won the F1 as well. So a good day for England and for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, it was a good day for English sport. Obviously, talking about the World Cup, you can check out other videos that we do on this channel. But talking about the Formula One, you know, great for Lewis Hamilton. That's what he needed after the really disappointing weekend he had in Canada. He just we always say there's these two different sides of Lewis Hamilton. You know, he's really happy and he's jumping about and he's got that swag. And then the other times, like in Canada, he's just a little bit down, blaming the world and saying the world's against him and that sort of thing. But
damn you, gravity.
He's just a little bit down most of the time when he has them weekends. But in France, he looked like he was back to his best. Mercedes brought an upgrade, and not just that, but they brought they upgraded the upgrade, if that makes sense. The one that they were supposed to bring to Canada, they brought that, but they added a little bit extra to it, so they helped the reliability, and I think they added a little bit more extra power. And of course, that went down to not just the Mercedes team itself, but all the other teams that obviously use engines. So Force India and Williams, although it didn't look like they had any help really.
Williams are clearly their favourites.
Yeah. But for Lewis Hamilton, great. A little bit disappointing, obviously, for Valtteri Bottas. Sebastian Vettel getting a bit of contact with him on the first corner, and that obviously didn't help his race. But for Lewis Hamilton as a whole, great for him to win in France, and great for Britain for him to win, and of course for him in the championship as well to now overtake Sebastian Vettel. And as long the race wasn't great, but if the championship keeps swapping places and when we're not knowing who's going to win it at the end, I suppose that's the main thing, I suppose.
And you got to thank Lewis Hamilton for understanding the track, because if I had turned up, I'd be like, wait, which way am I going? There's just roads that lead to all over the place. It's such a strange circuit. It reminds me of Abu Dhabi. And what's with all this blue stuff going around the track as well, where I don't like the circuit. I'm sorry, the Paul Ricard circuit, as they call it, where the fans look like they're further away than they would normally be as well. It looked like there was parts of the track where it's completely quiet.
Yeah,
I know some tracks are probably like that, but this one, it just felt like it was a dead area.
You could tell it was a testing track, which is what it's been for the last, 10 years or maybe more. It's a place where people just go out and test their new prototype cars. The blue runoff, I think, is to try and stop you a little bit. I think it's trying to, if you go off, it's not too bad. But I think then the red stuff after that is to try and make the car, all four wheels stop completely. So you can see why the runoff's there. But from the helicopter view, it just looks, your eyes are, you don't know where to look. And then the track's like this, isn't it? So I'd probably be taking shortcuts without knowing it.
Hey, I could do that on F105 and it didn't matter. No penalties.
But yeah, the track was a bit of a strange one, but we might get used to it in a couple of years' time. We might not think it's the best one, like Abu Dhabi, but we've had to sort of accept it's there. But just to have the French Grand Prix in the calendar, I suppose, it is something in itself. And the drivers, I think, were complaining about the last couple of corners. One of the chicanes that they thought the back straight should have just been a full-on straight to help overtake him. But in fact, the actual chicane after the straight was where most of the overtakes happened in the end. So, you can't have everything, I suppose. And the chicane sort of did its job because there was a lot of late braking going on. It's not I wouldn't say it's the best track. It's not like, for me, one of the best tracks is Hungary. I think when I watch that race, I enjoy the track. I enjoy watching the race because of it. So it's not something that I go, wow, the French Grand Prix, I can't wait to see the cars going around there. But like I said, just to see them in France, and obviously there's a lot of French drivers on the grid now. So to have them have their own home Grand Prix is something special for them, although 2 of them crashed out in the first corner. So they sort of missed out on it. But
it's funny because the first lap, though, as I mentioned before, there was a French lineup, just not at the front. Maybe because they're all thinking about the France team at the World Cup, who are doing just as bad. Well, even though they won the first 2 games. But it's funny because we had half of them already gone.
Yeah.
Pierre Gasly, which was sad for him, he had to go out, and then so did Esteban Ocon. Not exactly what they wanted. Out of all the Grand Prix, the last thing you want is for that to happen at your home Grand Prix.
Yeah, and them two sort of took each other out, really. I know there was a little bit of contact. I don't know if Grosjean was blamed, the third French driver, was blamed at the start, whether there was contact there, because there was a bit of debris that flew over. And then obviously Vettel hit Bottas and they span, and Bottas lost his tyre and Vettel had issue with his front wing. And then, Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon lost it. I think Ocon lost a wheel almost, didn't he? I think there was a wheel. Yeah. There was a wheel flying about, and obviously Pierre Gasly had to finish. So it was a shame for both French drivers to go out immediately. And Romain Grosjean got a 5-second penalty for what happened on the first lap. I can't remember specifically because he got two under investigation things. That's just Romain Grosjean. He likes to get caught. Romain Grosjean actually crashed in qualifying as well, didn't he?
As he does.
I think David Coulthard said that because Grosjean was like, I can't get the car in reverse, and David Coulthard went, the car just doesn't want to be driven by you anymore, Roman. It's just had enough, and it's true. I mean, he hasn't scored a point yet this season, and he just seemed to be having problems. I mean, a lot of people were saying on Twitter, I'm surprised he didn't blame Marcus Ericsson for that one, because he blamed him for his Azerbaijan crash. But
he'll do that in the future when Marcus Ericsson isn't in F1, and then he'll blame him. And he's like, then the team will be like, "What?
Yeah, it's Marcus Ericsson's fault. He's still here somewhere." But yeah, shame for the French drivers, really. I mean, I know he's from Monaco, but Charles Leclerc was probably the one. He excelled again in qualifying. To get that car into qualifying 3 is just unbelievable.
Incredible.
And he was even doing well to an extent in the race. He tried his best. Obviously, Vettel was trying to come back, and you got Bottas and you got the Renaults, who in a race mode probably are faster, obviously, than the Sauber. But to see that Alfa Romeo Sauber actually in the middle of everything and not just at the back is something special to see. And I know Kimi Raikkonen got on the podium in the end, but a lot of talk is on Charles Leclerc being in that red Ferrari seat next season.
It's funny because I think Autosport put that they are in talks with Leclerc, and that's quite a reliable source in the motorsport industry. So is it going to happen? Do you think they'll talk to him and say 2019 is the contract, or do you think it could be maybe earlier, maybe the last 2 races, maybe, I don't know, could be after the summer, maybe?
I'd love to see him in that Ferrari car, but I still feel like they will secretly offer him offering the seat. But I reckon Kimi Raikkonen will still be there next season. I think Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, you did say, didn't you?
I think Charles Leclerc will be offered it for the season afterwards. So they'll say, look, we know you're a talent. We want you in the car, but I think that they probably go safe for next year again.
But will Leclerc be happy with that, though? Because a lot could change between now and the end of next season as well, where, let's be honest, he might have moments where he's not a good driver, and then Ferrari could go, oh, hang on, maybe we were wrong about you.
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility. And I think Leclerc he'll want that Ferrari seat, of course, as quick as he can. But I think
it is straight at him, though, isn't it? All this, it's 8 races ever in his F1 career, and he's already had, and for at least 4 races now, he's been talked about going to Ferrari.
Yeah, I think Ferrari will understand that he is definitely one for the future, but I also think that they'll know that Kimi Raikkonen, he doesn't win any races really anymore, does he? But he might get on the podium. He does a decent job, and we might keep him for 2019, and then see if Leclerc is still as looking as good as he has been this season, he'll be in the car for 2020. But yeah, I think Raikkonen might be there next season. Especially, the thing is, if Ferrari go, here's a lump of money, do you want to stay? Raikkonen's going to go, yeah, you're
Kimi will take anything, won't he? He just seems to accept anything these days. Kimi, do you want to go to Sauber? That's a yes. We'll take that. At least we got a word out of him there. But looking at the podium as well, Max Verstappen second, another straight podium for him. That's 2 in a row. So he's clearly silencing the doubters. He just needs to go one more better to win his first race of 2019. 2018. I'm thinking it's 2019. God, I'm not that old.
He is flying by already.
24 yet.
Max Verstappen is shutting up the Connor Porters of this world who say Max Verstappen.
He's recording in the other room.
He says he doesn't deserve to be in F1, or is he really a future world champion? Yes, Max Verstappen is, and you're repping the Netherlands as well.
I thought this morning when I was getting changed, I thought mention Verstappen in the podcast. And I got the Holland shirt, Orange Army there, but you said it first.
Supporting it.
I actually forgot. I forgot what I was wearing under my nose.
But he's sort of proving it. Daniel Ricciardo, I think, had issues during the race, and obviously Kimi Raikkonen overtook him in the end quite comfortably. But Max Verstappen, I think Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton weren't really in any sort of competition. Lewis was too far away from Verstappen, and Verstappen was too far away from Ricciardo and Raikkonen. So them two really had their own race. But for Verstappen, he's getting the points, which we said a few races ago. He just needs to get a couple of good podiums or a couple of good races under his belt. Yeah,
and he's outperforming his teammate in the last 2 races.
Yeah, as well. Yeah, so he's doing a good job, and obviously they've just announced that they got Honda next year, have Red Bull. So that's an interesting one. Daniel Ricciardo said that his future will be announced in a few months, maybe. Not too long,
because Red Bull said their priority was to get the engine deal done first instead of Ricciardo, because it is a team, not individual.
And Ricciardo said, look, I know where Red Bull stand now. Red Bull have told me what they're doing, and I understand that. So he said, on their point of view, I know what they want to do. Now it's me telling them what I'm going to do. So, it's all down to Ricciardo now. I mean, there was talk of, I don't know who it was, another source saying that McLaren were going to pay 20 million for him. I think that 20 million needs to be spent on the car, if I'm brutally honest.
What? I don't know how on earth they can convince Ricciardo at the moment.
No, well, they can't. They're trying their best to convince Alonso to stay, and that's going to be difficult. I mean, if you got a pairing like Alonso and Ricciardo, that's great. But if both of them are at the back of the grid, it's just wasted.
Alonso did.
It's just wasted. So another depressing weekend for McLaren and for McLaren fans. I mean, the fact that you've got a Renault engine in the back of it, which is a home race for the engine sort of thing. And you're in 16th and 18th, and you pointed before the podcast started of Alonso going, I've got no tires, it's pointless, we're at the back, why can't I just finish? And then in the end he changed his tires and tried to get fastest lap. But when you've got a car itself as crap as the McLaren, it's never going to get fastest lap.
He forgot that, yes, his racing is always top of his game, but then he forgot, I'm in a McLaren.
So yeah, I don't know,
I'm limited.
We've said so much bad things about McLaren, and there's talk about Eric Boullier, the fact that I
think he needs to go.
Well, they haven't gone anywhere, have they?
He's been there enough for me to.
They blamed Honda for 3 years, and now they looked okay. Look, at the start of the season, we were like, okay, they're getting the points again. They're in 8th, they're in 7th. They're progressing, but now
that might be it.
Yeah, they still look like they're struggling. They can't get in the top 10, and
and who'd have thought Orange would ruin their form?
And great looking car as well, and they're still struggling. So who knows? Paddy Lowe at Williams is another one. He come from Mercedes, constructors winners, and he can't get Williams out of. I don't even know where Williams are, really. They might as well not be there. They might as well be
somewhere in that garage.
In Formula 2, really. Let's be honest. That car.
Did you hear about what happened in F2?
No.
There was a video of one of the drivers on the team radio, and he was shouting at the team saying, "You don't support me. You don't." Basically, live on air and everything. Wow. And I couldn't believe what he was saying. He was saying swear words, and basically it was someone telling a boss or the team, "You don't care about me."
Yeah. So he was doing a mini stroll then, was he?
Mini stroll. Hey, we're tired again.
Yeah, I mean, the less we talk about Williams and Lars Stroll, I think the better. I mean, I don't know where they can go from here. I mean, it's really difficult. I mean, they can't go anywhere but up. Really, surely they can't go any worse.
Well, I'm sure they could go down.
Well, they have to go so far down. They're terrible. But yeah, I mean, Haas again. Haas were coming into the weekend looking strong, and they didn't really do as well. I mean, obviously they said they're going to stick with Romain Grosjean, and let's see if they do or not. But I wouldn't say he's proving he deserves that seat at the minute. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of them. It's definitely one of them where it's sort of going to be hotting up now in the driver's seats, because who's going to be taking whose place. Because I think if in McLaren's point of view, if Fernando Alonso goes, they have to keep Van Dorn. Whereas I think if they knew Alonso was staying, they might actually get rid of Van Dorn, because Alonso out-qualified Van Dorn, the whole season so far. And, Van Dorn hasn't lived up to his potential, which a lot of people think, he could have done. And I thought, he looked at talent, and he probably is. But, when you're getting out-qualified by your teammate, I know he's Fernando Alonso, but, you need to maybe prove why you deserve to be there. But again, is Alonso just going to quit and go to do supercars next season? He'll obviously want to do Indy 500 to get that triple crown.
Hasn't he?
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting. Obviously, Daniel Ricciardo and where he's going to go, and Lando Norris, is he going to step in, and Brendan Hartley at Toro Rosso, who again had a disappointing race. I know he had to take engine penalties, so he started at the back, but again, he didn't have an amazing race. Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon, both drivers, retired at the end. So, yeah, it was a strange weekend, and obviously for the drivers and who's going to be in the teams next season, it'll be interesting to see that as well.
But you mentioned Red Bull with that Honda deal that was announced last week. And straight away when I saw that news come out, I thought, well, what happened with Honda and McLaren then? Red Bull are very convinced by this deal. Always we won't be talking about it. So, why do I suspect that Red Bull could actually be a real contender next year because of this deal?
Yeah, well, I just think watch it. I think McLaren were the ones that failed in that relationship, and I think it's growing more and more like that. McLaren were very vicious in their sort of ways of saying it's all Honda's fault in a way, and that's coming from a McLaren fan.
I could understand at that time they did it at the right time saying that, because Honda hadn't proven anything in the last few years, so I thought that it must be Honda.
Yeah, but now you look at it, and Toro Rosso are getting they're getting decent performances out of that car, and in some races finishing higher than the McLaren and finishing higher than that, and that I think Red Bull were like, we've seen the data and we've seen what they can do, and we're fully interested in that. And I think the other thing and the other point that is sort of major in that is that now with Renault supplying McLaren and with their own works team, Red Bull were like, we're just a customer now. So with Honda, we've got the sister team in Toro Rosso who's helping us with the data, but we'll basically be the works team for Honda, because nobody else is going to be taking that. Though the whole Red Bull situation will just be Honda. So I think they were like, Honda will be giving 110% for us. And I think that they'd actually be pretty tasty next season. So whether Ricciardo will stay or not is another thing. But I think if Mercedes, Toto Wolff's like, we want to keep Bottas, which is sort of a surprise, but sort of not, because I think he knows that the chemistry works in that team. And
it was the first corner yesterday, though, when Bottas got in the way. It was kind of like Vettel saw Hamilton, then Bottas was like, no.
I got this.
I've got this.
But yeah, that was it. I mean,
go Hamilton, run as fast as you can.
But yeah, that did look like. Now you've said that, that does actually.
That's exactly what I thought.
It does look quite interesting with the fact that, and he's like, no, you're not getting this. And
hello.
Yeah, but I think they realise that the dynamic in that team works. It's not a first driver and a first driver like Rosberg Hamilton, where there's always rows. That team is very comfortable, and I think they enjoy each other. in a friendship way. You know, they're not rivals to an extent. You know, they're both happy in each other's company. I can see from the outside. So yeah, I think Mercedes will keep Bottas and Hamilton. You know, I said already that Kimi Räikkönen will probably stay with Vettel. So, you know, Ricciardo's like, do I take that 20 million from McLaren and be at the back, or do I hope that this Honda power unit will do something with Red Bull next season?
I would like to buy a T-shirt with Ricciardo free and McLaren on it. It would be nice, but that's only for the merchandise sign I like.
If we got Alonso and Ricciardo in a team, that would be something. But they would have
what a team.
They would have to be up the order for it to be worth it.
Oh, it's got to be. Even if they say they're fourth best, I'm like, no, we want to be top.
Yeah, just go for podiums, McLaren, please.
Please.
How many years of torture can you give the fans now?
Exactly. It's like Liverpool winning a Premier League. I don't want it to be that long. It's only been 6 years now. It can't be any longer than 30 odd years like Liverpool. It'd be ridiculous. Anyway, do that face like you do when you get it right, because if Raikkonen does stay for another year, you've got to do it now. What's that pose you do? Yes, that's the one. That's the one right there. That's the pose we want to see if he is right. That'll become a meme come the end of the year, I reckon.
What did you think? What do you think then?
I do worry for Leclerc. It's too much at once. That's all I worry about. I think he's got to go next year to Ferrari. No, don't do this whole thing of let Raikkonen go before the end of the year. And let's not forget, they've still got a championship to fight for. So stick with the same team at least until the end of the year. I don't know what's going to happen in 2019, but Leclerc cannot be wasted. He's got to go up there. He's got to learn from Vettel, I think.
Yeah.
And Vettel's praised him, so there's clearly a good chemistry that could work there.
I'm not saying Sergio Perez is the best driver ever, but I'm saying in terms of
what happened. He is.
Well, for you, yeah. But I'm saying in terms of what happened to him in F1, you know, he doesn't really get recognised anymore. You know, he's just in that team, and he's never. I don't think he's ever going to get that jump up. So
it's a shame.
He sort of got wasted in that talent pool. So
but the problem Sergio Perez did though was that he left the Ferrari program. To join Ferrari, to join McLaren. He could have been a Ferrari driver.
Yeah,
but
and McLaren wasted him, and you know now he's in Force India, and I don't ever see him.
And he won't be in Mercedes or anything like that.
I don't see him making that jump up. So you know, I don't want Leclerc to be wasted like Perez sort of was. So and Hulkenberg to an extent. You know, do we see him? Getting that seat?
But it just shows how brutal F1 is.
Yeah,
you know, you can still be the best driver like Alonso and not have. I mean, we're very Alonso fan group, as you can tell if you've been listening to all the pole position podcasts. But as I just said, Alonso's another one. It's just not happening for him. But that's F1 for you. There may be 20 drivers on that grid, but that doesn't mean you got the best job in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
You got all that stress like Marcus Ericsson has. You know, just following everyone behind.
Oh, blue flag.
Blue flag. Oh, there we go. You can imagine Alonso giving the thumbs up. It's like, you're welcome. Probably says it every time. You're welcome. You're welcome. Why won't you say thank you?
Oh, dear. But
maybe there'll be a championship end to the season where Vettel or Hamilton wins the world championship on the checkered flag. You just see Ericsson right behind him, and Ericsson will like, can I have that picture on my wall just to remember good times?
Well,
I was there when he won.
That's when Vettel won, and as you can see in that picture, there I am as well.
I can imagine his kid in the future. Was that when you came second, Daddy? No. Or he'll lie to his next girlfriend. He's like, yeah, I came second.
I was second in the picture.
Yeah. I was never first, but I'll take second. It's better than third.
Oh, dear.
But as well, Kimi Räikkönen getting third, so good result. It was a bit weird, wasn't it? Raikkonen overtaking Vettel. I thought it was going to be, Kimi is faster than you.
It was a surprise, but I think Vettel was just, he'd been on them tyres too long, and Kimi Räikkönen was just the fastest one. But I think it will be, it will be interesting in terms of the races now, because we have, obviously got the French Grand Prix, got the Austrian Grand Prix next weekend, and then Silverstone the weekend after that. So we've got 3 F1 races in the space of 4 weeks really. So and I think it's 5 races in 7 all together. So there's a lot of races coming up at the minute before the summer break. So
I was gonna say it's the whole European tour, isn't it? Pretty much.
It will be interesting to see what happens come after the Hungarian Grand Prix, and obviously the break comes, and what happens in the standings. I mean, Ricciardo's only on 96 points, and I think they're on 130, so he's not that far behind either.
Not far off either.
Obviously going to Austria next weekend, the Red Bull track basically. Can
is that this weekend? weekend.
Yeah, coming up this weekend. So
Oh,
it'll be
another
interesting.
terrible circuit.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. There's not much I can say about that one. I don't mind playing it on the game.
I can't even remember it on the game.
I don't mind
The only
playing it.
good thing I've ever had with Austria is when Rosberg and Hamilton fought to the very end, and then there was that collision. But that's all I can remember from that circuit.
Not a lot has really happened since it's come onto the grid, I suppose. But it's another F1 race for us to watch, or watch the highlights for Jamie.
Well, it wasn't even highlights; it was just 7 minutes on YouTube.
Oh, on the YouTube one.
Thank you, F1 YouTube. You saved me from watching 2 hours of it.
But hopefully this race will be good. I think the French Grand Prix, I'd probably give maybe a 6.5 to 7, because I think apart from the first lap sort of incidents that happened, again, not a lot really happened. There was a few overtakes, but that was basically Sebastian Vettel just overtaking the slower cars because he was at the back, and same with Bottas. So yeah, it's probably a 6 to 7. So hopefully Austria is a bit better.
I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah, because you watched it all. Yeah.
Don't lie. Don't BS. Come on. Which means balls.
What?
Strike. Never mind. Anyway, but obviously the more important question is, as driver of the day, who gets that? Who got it in from the F1 website? I never checked.
Is it Lewis Hamilton?
I'm not sure. BBC Sport, well, Andrew Benson, Andrew Benson Sport, Andrew BBC Sport Benson. That was a tongue twister. I think it's the heat. It's getting to me again.
It is warm in here.
It is. We have had a desert weather in England. If you haven't been in England this summer, it's been actually very warm for us. Look at me. Look at my face.
We are in Wales.
It's a red tomato. Wow, in Wales.
We are in Wales.
But it is practically England B. So, yeah, as I was saying, I think it was Andrew BBC Sport Benson. I got it.
There you
after
go.
a third attempt, saying that Charles Leclerc got driver of the day. As in, I think he picked his driver of the day. Would you agree? Because normally you don't agree with Mr. Benson.
No, I mean, Charles Leclerc did have I think Charles Leclerc won on Saturday. I would give it, if it was, driver of the day on the Saturday for his qualifying performance, yes. I think if I was going in terms of the race, I think it might have to be somebody like Lewis Hamilton. I think he was. It was just one of them races where he didn't look like anyone could get near him, and he has them races where you just think he's unstoppable. And he came into the weekend, and he just put in the performance, and that was it. It's like, I'm here, I've done it, I'm gonna go home now. That's sort of what happens. And when he has them weekends, he just doesn't look like he can be stopped. So I think Charles Leclerc was a Saturday driver of the day. His qualifying performance with that Sauber was unbelievable. But for the race day, I think Lewis Hamilton won that. Yeah.
So Lewis Hamilton gets the pole position podcast driver of the day.
The most important one.
The most important one, not the World Championship. It's all about. Imagine if they'll do this thing in F1 in the future, where depending on how many driver of the days you win like some sort of award. Do you remember when they did that for pole positions? The most pole positions win a trophy. I think they stopped after one, yeah.
As long as it's not as bad as that the Gorilla one that they won on
Oh,
Sunday.
God, I can't believe we nearly let that pass us by. Well, I nearly did, but my God, what a trophy. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I like different. I mean, I don't know the meaning of it. Who thinks of a monkey or a gorilla or whatever you call them of that with France? Really?
No, I don't know.
I was thinking King Kong.
No, I was looking at it. I could just imagine him, Kimmy, looking at it going, what?
But it's like he was lifting a tire as well.
It was one of the strangest ones. I didn't understand why, but I can kind of see it because they're all a bit the same, aren't they? They're all a bit boring.
There's so many Heineken ones now as well.
Yeah, so.
And did you notice how Heineken was plastered all over the Canada race? Even graphic stars of the cars going through. You think, really?
I wonder who we're sponsored by.
Yeah, and I'm thinking a minute. It was Red Star Belgrade, clearly. Yeah, but I couldn't believe it. Like I was thinking, this is meant to be. There's meant to be posters saying, don't drink and drive, and I'm thinking, well, you're advertising Heineken all over the place. I'm just glad I can't drive anyway because I'll just drive after that race probably. Heineken's great. But oh well. But then anyway, we must end it there because
we're rambling again.
But yes, my thanks to Jack. Austria is next.
Yeah. Well, we'll ramble in the review of that race as well.
Of course. Are
you working this weekend? Are you going to watch the race, or are you watching the highlights?
I don't know yet. Depends. I mean, it is the Red Bull Grand Prix, so yeah.
Highlights.
Yes. Highlights, yes. So, of course, this weekend is the Red Bull Grand Prix. I mean, the Austrian Grand Prix. And, of course, we will be looking at that next week. Hopefully, I put my fingers crossed out there. And this podcast was brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero. Whenever you need a drink, go for Zero. From as was it Marcus Ericsson? No, Pastor Maldonado. He was from hero to zero. Anyway, we will be back next time, and remember to subscribe to Let's Talk Sport on YouTube. Goodbye for now.